Hello everyone, my name is Jahan Ismailova. Today we as a group will present you limits of Europeanization at the municipal level, evidence from the Republic of Cyprus. Presenters will be Güller Aliyeva, Zarife Misirova, Mihirban Hüseyinova, Sabina Hüseyinova, Meryem Agayeva, and the last one Serhan Azimov. Initially, I would like to describe the background of situation in Cyprus. For that purpose, I will specify some peculiarities belonging to the Republic of Cyprus. It's illustrated that the Republic of Cyprus has centralized domestic practices that decrease local autonomy. It's noteworthy to say that these practices and systems origins from the Ottoman and British colonial period. Local government comparative perspective is applied to investigate the influence of European integration on the municipal level, at the same time the reaction to the challenges brought by the process. Moving to the research question, there are two formulated hypotheses. First one will investigate what are the results of European integration at the municipal level. The second one will investigate what is the role of variations in institutional structures and personal financial resources, responsibilities, and specific aspects of mayor's profile, such as leadership style, regarding the observed European integration effects. Now I will give information about data description. Data description is as following. All of the 39 municipalities are included in the study. Methodology was based on a literature review and two field studies. These two field studies taking place in the 2013 and 2019. Respectively, they will provide empirical data and both quantitative and qualitative analysis were applied to examine the collected data. Surveys and interviews are also included, and they are designed to track the impact of top-down structures through specific processes indicated by the relevant literature. The main focus areas of the paper will be EU legislation implementation and its possible impact on the municipal responsibilities and functions. The second focus area will be quantitative and qualitative changes in the local structure and personnel. The last one will discuss the number of secured programs and financial effects deriving from the cohesion policy and the other EU programs. Moreover, it's obvious that systems differ, and these differences are the financial and human resources, infrastructure, and responsibilities based. In the process of applying Europeanization, differences can be the obstacle at the municipal level. Furthermore, it's important to touch to the impact of historical institutional approach, which may deliver additional insights focusing on the construction of policies. Generally, the main focus of the paper is highlighting coercive Europeanization mechanism in terms of both their applicability and results on the Cyprus municipalities. Details of the paper will be discussed by my groupmates. Now Güller Aliyeva will continue.
Hello everyone, my name is Güller Aliyeva and I will talk about Europeanization and municipalities. Europeanization is mostly described as a transformation procedure affecting the domestic level. Initially, it was perceived as a top-down process through which rules and practice were conveyed from the European Union to its member states and their domestic structures. And also, research extended the Europeanization scope to new topics such as foreign policy, adding additional research dimensions and process in the following years. This included the bottom-up approach, where member states tried to influence the construction of the policy at the European Union level by uploading their preferences to reduce adaptation costs, and the horizontal approach, via which member states transferred how to the best practice between them. Empirical research has also extended to use the Europeanization further than national political level, reaching regional and local government actors in recognition of the increases chance for mobilization that it presented. Therefore, downloading Europeanization was associated with implementing European Union legislation and securing European Union funding, causing alteration to local policies, practices, and preferences. Uploading Europeanizations enables local government to lobby European institutions. Finally, the horizontal aspect of Europeanization enables local government to join transnational networks and institutions to transfer practice and norms. In this content, it was pointed out that the access to new political arena was offered to local government actors, giving them the opportunity to partly pass domestic policy-making structures. And also, this work also categorized the possible effects of the Europeanization on the Cypriot municipalities. The typology of the former includes a limited change to existing structures and policies, moderate change and adaptation, substantial change, and also fully alteration and reduction in the effects of Europeanization. Relevant literature was also used to classify municipal reactions to the challenge of the Europeanization. Counteractive and highly skeptical about the European issues, passive demonstrating limited involvement, reactive participating and partnership, and also networks and proactive showing interest to support European interaction at the local level. Finally, the various domestic mediating factors were analyzed since they may prohibit or boost change, affecting the effects of the Europeanization. And also, supplementary analytical insight was delivered by the historical institutional approach. Past dependency states that the past decisions are quite crucial since they affect the future decisions by restraining existing options. In this context, increased returns resulting from the continuing at the context, also some past do not allow change. Historical institutionalism has been applied to local government research, indicating that history is an imperative element of the manner in which the contemporary relationship between center and the locality has been determined. Moreover, it has also been applied in an attempt to examine local governments' adaptation to the challenge of the globalization and Europeanization, indicating that the possible variations can be attributed to different historical, culture, past, and dependent conditions. And also, this paper utilized this approach to realize how local governments' role, resources, and duties were influenced by past historical development affecting the impact of Europeanization. Now my groupmate Zarfa will continue.
Hello everyone, my name is Zarfa Mustirova and I will continue the presentation. The Republic of Cyprus is an island country located in the Eastern Mediterranean, and it has been the member of the European Union since 2004 and the Euronext since 2008. Its population counts for 0.2% of European Union's population. And despite its small population, its domestic structures and actors are abundant. It's divided administratively in 6 districts, 39 municipalities, and 491 communities. Prior to the establishment of the Republic of Cyprus, specific historical legacies were generated during the last 2 historical decades, the British era and the Ottoman era. And it has been demonstrated that this created burdens affecting Cyprus' social, political, and economic progress. And let me change the slide, please. Okay, while the system of local government was in existence during the greater part of the Ottoman period, there were no written laws regulating the structure and the functions of the Cyprus Republic. A legal framework was eventually established at the latest part of the Ottoman period, just some years toward the end of the collapse of Ottoman Empire. This development had a critical role, allocating a restrictive and role to local government. It established a resilient domestic tradition, local organizations in the past that has been channeling their values and activities. The main feature of this past were manifested in the form of very limited list of responsibilities, functions, and sources of revenues that were explicitly assigned to local government. During the British colonial period, moderate modernization measures took place and didn't actually have an impact on the improvement of the state of Cypriot local government. The colonial laws regulating local government incorporated the Ottoman laws, reproducing their restrictive provisions. In practice, there was a clear historical continuity, as the Kyrlapos is stated in his book. Now I will continue with the third part of my speech, and here I will talk about the upholding historical burdens at the municipal level. The first years of the new republic were characterized by political unrest and domestic violence that resulted into foreign political and eventually military intervention by Turkey in 1974. As expected, these circumstances didn't allow a meaningful change in the condition of the Cypriot local government. In contrast, since 1963 and for the following 2 decades, local elections were postponed with the Council of Ministers appointing instead persons in charge of the local government. Since the early 1980s, local elections were reintroduced, increasing the influence of political parties within the multi-level governance system. In fact, the number of political positions was increased, further amplifying clientelistic practice at the local level increased. And despite the introduction of new laws, control exerted by the central structures remains to this day strong, either through the administrative control performed by the district officer or through the prior authorization of the local budgets or other local decisions by the Minister of the Interiors and or the Council of Ministers. And this was all that I wanted to share with you. And now my groupmate will continue.
So, hello everyone. My name is Mehriban Hüseyinova. Now I would like to talk about municipalities in the Republic of Cyprus, presenting the sample. So, let's get started. According to the National School of Government International publication, the average municipal population in the Republic of Cyprus is one of the smallest in comparison with other European countries. It is estimated that approximately 67% of the population lives in urban centers. Despite this, majority of the Cyprus municipalities face several issues such as limited resources, capacities, and their role. So this first table presents the budget averages and the state grant averages for the periods from 2008 to 2013 and from 2014 to 2019. The table shows that substantial decrease in the financial resources. This is associated with the impact of the Eurozone crisis and the austerity measures derived from the implementation of the bail-in and bail-out agreement. In practice, these figures indicate that the decreasing financial resources of the Cyprus municipalities further restrict their limited financial autonomy as well as their capacities to function effectively. So the table on the right-hand side about Cyprus municipalities shows the relationship between municipal population and the financial resources. As we can see here, since the majority of the population lives in the urban areas, the urban municipalities demonstrated the biggest financial capacities. This trend is followed by the suburban municipalities, which has the second biggest financial capacity, third by the rural municipalities, and the last by displaced municipalities. Again, the trend shows the size of the population has significant impact on the effective working of these municipalities. Therefore, municipal size remains a decisive factor which affects both the financial activities and the resources of the local actors. So now I would like to talk about the personal and functions of Cyprus municipalities. The data shows that municipal personnel in the country are generally small in numbers. For instance, almost half of the municipalities demonstrate insignificant numbers of total personnel, which is less than 100 people. According to Table 2, the 4 oldest urban municipalities demonstrate greater numbers of specialized personnel. According to the article, this is explained by the fact that urban municipalities have a wider existing institutional structure since they are town planning authorities and consequently have greater responsibilities. The rest of the municipalities enjoy less responsibilities and the functions, demonstrating smaller numbers of specialized personnel. These deficiencies in the personnel structure indicates that Cyprus municipalities face enormous difficulties in their attempt to cope with daily challenges and daily tasks. As it will be demonstrated by my groupmate, this factor also restricts the channels of providing an adequate reaction to the challenges of European integration. Now, I would like to talk about, provide a few useful details about mayors' profiles in these municipalities. The article also shows interesting information about the mayors in these municipalities. The study done by Kirlapos, the author of the article, shows that the majority of the mayors is actually older than 50 years old. On the other hand, the study reveals that most of these mayors have attained a higher education and have been actively involved in political parties for more than 10 years prior to getting elected by their municipalities. And finally, these mayors continue to have great party influence, holding the high party positions in the both periods.
So the regional policy of European integration in Cyprus includes 3 main aspects. The first one is a solution of the territorial issues between Cyprus and Turkey. Second one is financial assistance and cohesion fund for economic development. And the third one is interaction between the European Union and Cyprus within the framework of the cohesion policy. So we focus on financing and cohesion policies. So financial assistance. The policy of European integration is very detailed and accurate. All countries of the European Union can benefit from grants from the structural funds. Structural funds include Cohesion Fund, European Regional Development Fund, European Social Fund, and etc., etc. So Cohesion Fund has been operating since 1993, and it was created to help countries with a low GDP level. So according to the analysis, the financial impact at the municipal level was relatively large compared to other top-down European integration processes. So in comparison with 2013, we can observe that in the future, municipalities showed more interest in this process of European integration through finance. And the reason of interest in funding was the crisis and the restriction imposed on the financial autonomy of municipalities. The crisis was caused by the restructuring of the banking sector, and also the collection of deposits from largest banks. The financial system of Cyprus was crushed as the result of slow economic growth, and financial markets doubted the stability of the Cyprus financial system. So it became almost impossible for the Cyprus authorities to rely on foreign loans. Usually, countries recapitalize in order to save their financial sector. Recapitalization means that the government invests money in banks and gets shares in return. But in the case of Cyprus government couldn't afford recapitalization. So this resulted in significant losses for the Cyprus municipalities as well. And overall, generally, this crisis has resulted in top-down budget deficit. Therefore, mayors also admitted that they requested financial assistance from central structures to cover the lack of resources and overcome the crisis. So only 3 municipalities managed to secure funding in both periods. The second program of European integration is the policy of cohesion. The main goal of the policy of cohesion is the decentralization of central power. In other words, the main goal of this program is to make the role of municipalities more powerful, so they can quickly respond to the needs of local population. But the policy of decentralization of power requires the creation of a new national framework for regional policy. So the creation of completely new national framework of regional policy will result in additional costs in terms of new structures, for example, or recruitment process, training process, and etc., etc. So all the 4 large urban municipalities have successfully integrated political cohesion policy. According to the article, this can be explained by several factors, such as availability of financial and human resource, and also leadership style of their mayors. The rest of the municipalities couldn't do it, couldn't provide funding for the cohesion policy due to the lack of finance and lack of human resource and the dominance of central structure. So now my group mate will continue.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now I will conclude our presentation. Overall, both effects of Europeanization at the municipal level and their reactions to it provided the resilience of domestic tradition, stressing the basis features of the past that derived from the Ottoman and British colonial eras. Bacon's analysis of the empirical findings as utilizing the vertical process and research dimensions of top-down Europeanization, it was demonstrated the Europeanization of the separate municipalities was constrained at its scope and its basis features. The research results show that both effects of Europeanization at the municipal level and the reaction to it tend to reinforce of the basis features of the past, restricting the separate municipalities' role. The findings of this work support our research hypothesis and confirm that the centralist domestic tradition of the Republic of Cyprus has filtered the various procedures associated with the top-down Europeanization. Empirical evidence displayed that it was difficult for the municipalities to reverse past historical decisions and choices that mayors, to their vast majority, did not wish to stop the following rules and standards of the established past due to consideration of the additional cost. In this context, the effect of the European integration at the municipal level, as well as the reaction of the municipal actors to them, were also quite inadequate. An exception to the rule was provided in terms of securing EU programs, besides those of the cohesion policy, where all municipalities were more reactive. In an effort to answer the first research question, it should be stated that the observed result of European integration at the municipal level demonstrated great differentiation per top-down implementation process. The reasons that explain these positions were the larger constraints in the financial and human resource, as well as the existence of bigger institutional and structural restrictions. Theoretically, to the Europeanization literature by offering the more wide-ranging definition of the narrow yet differentiated effect of Europeanization at the separate municipal level. This work constituted the very first attempt to chart and examine the impact of European integration solely on the separate municipal actors. In this context, recommendation was demonstrated in securing EU programs, while limited change was shown in the rest of the top-down Europeanization process. In this context, the causal relation was clear between these factors and the differentiation behavior shown by separate municipalities to the challenges of the European integration. In an effort to answer the second research question, it should be stated that municipal responses vis-à-vis the impact of European integration were highly differentiating. In doing so, it provided interesting characteristics to this procedure, adding to the advance of the international literature. Thank you for your attention.